You don't have to focus. That's the beauty about the difference between going to an official, like synagogue. This is more like what's called a shiva. It's where everybody sits down. Sometimes you even actually put food out here.
I am hungry.
The problem is, do you have any?
What?
Or are we waiting?
We're waiting.
I know.
We got some beans over there.
We got cupcakes. We got cakes.
You're on there, Joe. I'm not turning this off. No more.
You look up.
No.
That beef corn.
All right, first of all, we're going to go ahead and start teaching right now. You just offered me a glass of wine. Am I not teaching? So you want me to violate the law? Is that
I
what
don't
you're saying?
want you to.
Ah.
I don't want you to either. I'll take your portion.
No.
When did you start drinking anyway?
What I'm trying to get at is the reason why we're going to be going over this. This is why everybody's sick, basically.
I'm sick.
It's a teaching. Well, this is a teaching on healing, but the actual title is going to go like this: Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Why are you sick and tired?
This kind of sounds like an AA meeting, isn't it?
Well, you know what? They could be connected. Because alcoholism is a demonic force. It's inside of somebody, or a demonic spirit.
Yeah, you alcoholics.
And the whole point is that
Now that's the first thing that came out of their mouth, though, was that phase of you. I mean, that what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Was, are you sick
You
and tired
forgot?
of being sick and tired?
Yeah, well, you forget. I used to run an RSET unit for many years.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm used to dealing at it from that point of view, but it is a demonic force. Okay? Alcoholism, the world classifies it as a disease that they can treat, but it's not. It's ungodly. Did God create anybody to be an alcoholic? The answer would be no. So why are they? It's ungodly. The problem with most of the world in general is everything is set up as there's God's over here on one side, okay, the world's in the middle, and Satan's on the other. But that's not how this works. Okay? If you believe in the God of the Bible, there's God and there's everything else. And everything else is lumped in with fallen. So, I want to run through the scriptures, though. You don't have to read them all right there. I got a bunch of scriptures. I want to blow through them with a lot of little notes on the sides we're going to expand on. Okay? Those are scrap notes. I'll leave these here with you when I'm done because I have them on the computer.
Okay.
And I didn't have much time to... Trust me, me and the computer's having issues. But anyway. 1 Peter 2:21. For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example, that ye should follow his steps. I want you to note a few things in these. I'll bring them up as we go. Okay, first of all, Christ suffered for us, and he's leaving us an example. Okay, that will be the written history. That's corroborated in 1 Corinthians 10:6 and 10:11, and there's quite a few other verses. If I've run into anything that you don't actually believe is in the Bible, bring it up right then, because it's easier to deal with it then than get all the way to the end and you've forgotten. Okay. By the way, have you ever heard of the Passion of the Christ? Do you know where you get passion from? Right here is that verse where it says,
Give me time to answer.
I know, suffered. That actually in the Greek is emotions. That's where passions come from. You got to see when we translate, and there's some stuff in here that when I leave you'll be able to see because I put down the Greek and Hebrew and everything in it. You'll see where I'm getting at some of this stuff. Verse 22 of 1 Peter 2. Who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. That's also Isaiah 53:9. Okay. And these are, in other words, he never lied, not once. Never bore false witness ever. Who when he was reviled not again. When he suffered, he treateth not, but committeth himself to him that judgeth righteously. I wanted to bring out righteously because he's a righteous. Christ is the most righteous thing that's ever walked this earth. We all agree on that, right? Okay. Who his own self bare our sins, now this is where it gets interesting, in his body on the tree, that we, being dead to sins, should live unto righteousness, by whose stripes ye were healed. Now, that's a mirror of Isaiah 53:5. Okay? But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities, the chastisement of our peace, that's shalom, was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. The reason I'm bringing this up real serious is the word healed here, healed of what? Jump in anytime. Healed of what?
Healed from sickness and disease.
Are you sure? Then why was she sick last week? Why was she sick last week?
Spirits upon.
Why would you say that? Where's your scripture to show that? Unless you've been cheating and reading ahead here.
I can do that. It's unfair to me.
We're
struggling here, okay? We're trying to focus.
What I'm trying to do,
I'm more focusing than
is what I'm trying to do is bust you out of what's called the Greco-Roman mindset. Because once I've been healed, I can't have any demons in me. Yet I can show you, and I'm going to through these scriptures, that illness is demonic.
It's just like my friend. She texted me today. She has cancer in her mouth. She just found out. Like,
by the way, most healer people, spiritual healers, believe cancer is a spirit of death itself.
but she's praying, but she's thinking that she's kind of mad at God for.
That's Romans 8:35, I believe it is. It's down in here. Yeah, she's blaming God for it. Now watch what we'll get to that. Okay, so that's why I'm running through this. This should help you out in all your little endeavors, especially where you're going.
Where am I going?
You're going to be a healer.
Oh.
wait a minute here.
Well, we're all going somewhere. Don't be so sure. There's certain times. There's a verse in the Bible that says He will turn. It's in Romans 8, somewhere in that chapter. And I'm not going to look it up right offhand. And what it's talking about is I figure I'm probably faster at it than you are.
We should really put some water in that fountain. Can we do that?
It's on camera.
I'm not like that.
It's
No.
8:28, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God. Okay. In other words, when you have things come against you, it's Romans 8:28.
Just saying.
The reason why I figured I was faster because I actually know the order of the books.
No, I know it was after Acts.
Acts is after what?
The book in front
John.
of it.
What's John after?
Yeah, but I like is that other book Bible because it's got them marked.
That's all right. Anyway, all right, let's not get down into that. Let's stick to the subject here. What it's talking about, there's people that do get illnesses, and the Father, it looks like God actually does it. He never did it, but He turned it to good. That's this verse right here. Okay, He turns it to good to those who believe. There's a lot of evil people in this world that He doesn't. They go right on off the cliff, basically, to say it. But there are people that are God-fearing, okay, that has let this get into them somehow. He didn't allow it. He didn't want it to happen. He never wanted them to be in that state. but he turned it to the good because he now uses it to teach somebody. That's why the blind man, okay, there was a blind man that Peter healed. Remember? How many times did Christ walk by?
Quite a few.
See what I'm saying?
And he never asked.
He never asked. He never sought.
And then,
Okay? He never sought. And that's the whole thing. But God never wanted that man born blind in the first place. But he used it. See what I'm saying?
I know. I'm
Give there.
She's at.
Give up the phone.
She's at my mom's and she's talking to my mom for me. Just 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to cast that spirit out now or later?
What spirit?
you know, lead to holy water. I'll lead.
I don't need holy water. I have to. That's
got
another
Steve?
thing.
Here, I
No,
don't want to be like.
you don't use
That's what
holy
I
water.
mean.
We're going to get
I'm
to.
good. I'm
We're going to
focusing.
get to that later on down the road. You don't have
I
to
got
focus.
it.
We're just picking on you, okay?
Why?
To show that
What'd I do?
that somebody who can believe also can have a spirit in them. They can have a demonic force in them. They're almost interchangeable. Demon possessed, no. I agree with the fact that if you're really saved, salvation is from Him. You can't. Your salvation, in other words, your get out of hell card is done. But the rest of it isn't, because I'm going down through here. By the way, the word heal is in the Greek is 7495.
What's that?
Or that's actually Hebrew. It's the Strong's number, Hebrew's number for the word healed. By whose stripes we are healed. And that's rafa'ah. And it's a primitive root property to men by stitching, figuratively, to cure. And it's translated in the King James Version as cure, cause to heal, physician, repair, externally, make whole. Not partial, not kinda, not a little. The problem we have is the fact that we do not actually take hold of all of it. We'll get into that. If you've been saved, now we're going to switch over to Mark chapter 16. Now the whole chapter is, the beginning of the chapter is about His resurrection. This is resurrection morning. This is Sunday morning. The two Marys show up at daybreak. Okay? And He's gone. She goes back, she witnesses to the 11, and the 11 show up. Okay, so this, and then we started at verse 15 is when we actually start talking here. And He said unto them, Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. Verse 16, And he that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. You know, notice you got to be baptized. That's evidence, and that's the Spirit. It's not being dunked in water. It's baptized in the Holy Spirit. And because of that, that's an evidence thing. That's the Savior part. Okay, that's the work He does at the cross. And these signs shall follow them that believe in my name. Shall they cast out devils? They shall speak with new tongues. I'm not going to argue the thing on tongues here. Okay. They shall take up serpents. Now here's a part of one of the problem teachings we have right here. It comes out of this verse. Verse 18, they shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. Who's he talking about? You got to stay in context. Now he's talking about the ones who believe and have been baptized in the Holy Spirit. Now, the problem here is, when it says take up serpents, this happened to Paul. That's the note on the right there, Joe. Acts 28, chapter 28, verses 3 through 6. Paul, who was reaching down to get a piece of firewood to put in a fire, was bit by a snake. Did Paul know the snake was there? No. If he would have grabbed a rattlesnake and got a hold of its head, and the thing that managed to bite him, was he not tempting God at that point? He did not know there was a viper in the firewood pile. Therefore, he was in God's will and his way. He wasn't tempting God. He wasn't showing off. He wasn't doing anything flashy. He was just feeding the fire to stay warm. Therefore, the people who go around to these snake churches have taken this out of context. You have to stay with the flow of what he's meaning. Okay? Just so you know. That was a demonic attack, actually. Why was the snake there?
Anybody in the dishwasher?
And
She was into
there was the snake. Satan directed the snake to bite him. Satan got the snake at the right point at that time to go. You see what I'm getting at? So that's why he wasn't hurt. He was there doing God's will. If you're there not doing God's will, doing somebody else's will, you're going to, well, I don't know if the snake will kill you, but you better hope there's that pole that you can look at. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Story told.
Well, never mind. It's in the Old Testament. The children murmured. God put serpents throughout the camp. And then when they said we're dying by the thousands, it ended up being, if I remember right, in the 20s of thousands. God directed Moses to put a snake on a pole, and they stuck the pole in the middle of the camp. Did that heal anybody? No. If you were bit by a snake and you stayed inside your tent, you died. You had to look upon the pole to be healed. Didn't say anything about distance. You had to act. You had to do something. You had to seek the pole. Just like you have to seek the cross. It's kind of a foreshadow, but there's an action there. Anyway. Oh yeah. In verse 17, these signs shall follow them that believe in my name. Shall they cast out devils? If you look that up at Strong's, that's in the Greek, it's 1140. And
Well, don't point at me.
I'm not. I'm just. It's 1140, and that, by extension, is a demonic being. Okay, so devils, it's translated devils or God. Lowercase g, not big God, not big G, little g. In other words, a God. So that connects actually some things that people ought to understand. If you're running around and you're polishing your car every Sabbath, in other words, you're out, you got to wash it, you got to polish the rims, you got to wax it, you got to vacuum it, you got to make it look perfect. That's your God, little g. That's your demonic force that's using. What it's doing is it's taking you away from the Word. Okay? It's taking you away from the study of the Word. And it becomes your God. Pretty much where your time is and your money is your God. That's the easiest way to figure that out. Where you put most of your time and most of your money. Okay, I went through Paul, got bitten. We will silence that spirit. You shall bind it and cast it in the name of Yahshua HaMashiach.
What are we doing?
Taking care of something.
On me?
No.
Oh, my heart hurts.
So then after the Lord had spoken unto them, he was received up into heaven and sat on the right hand of God. And they went forth and preached everywhere, the Lord working with them and confirming the word. 1 John, the word was God. Okay? The word is God. The word was God. Joshua is the God personified. In other words, he's walking among us. The word itself is. Okay, with me so far? And confirming the word with signs following. In other words, the people that was sent out, there's bottom of that page, though.
That's what I was reading.
Yeah. If you look, but see the signs? If you believe and you have the Spirit in you, you're supposed to manifest these signs. You're supposed to have the authority. You do have, let me rephrase this. I'm saying it wrong. You do have the authority to cast out demons and to heal the sick. The sick is a demonic force. Sickness is a demonic force. Now there's multiple reasons why it's there. But it nevertheless, its root is demonic. And how I can prove that without even doing anything with this is Adam and Eve were created in the garden. Were they sick or ill? They would have lived forever if sin had not entered in. Okay? So if sin had not entered in, we'd just cruise right on down the road, wouldn't we? That's what I'm getting at, see? And people have this the concept, because Satan has got this into the church, that when you're saved, that's it. You're good to go. And we're getting to okay. If you skip that and go on down a couple pages here somewhere, I've got a whole thing on that. When you're saved, I don't need that. When you're saved, it's easier for me to teach without that, actually. When you're saved, say you were saved today, okay, and the Spirit come down on you. And let me ask you this. Are you perfect? You're not perfect. Well, the point I'm getting at is, that means something wrong is in you. You're not completely right. In other words, you're not completely righteous. We have to rely on the blood for the Father to look at us as righteous. Even Paul had to, after all he went through. Even Peter, even James, all of them. The only one that was actually truly perfect was the Son. And that's what I'm getting at. You don't manifest all this. The fruits of, in fact, I'll tell you what, I got the list of the fruits of the Spirit in here. Where'd that at? It's in Galatians 5:22 through 25, chapter 5, verses 22 through 25. Verse 22, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith. So the moment that you're saved, if everything's taken out of you, then you should completely enjoy love, joy, complete peace, complete long-suffering, complete gentleness, complete goodness, complete faith, complete meekness, complete temperance. Against such things there is no law. And they that are Christ have crucified the flesh with the afflictions and lusts. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. You see what I'm getting at? We do not manifest them right off the bat. That's because there's stuff still inside of us we have to get out. It goes back to the children. They were delivered out of Egypt, were they not? Mm-hmm. The moment that the Red Sea, or the sea closed and killed all the Egyptians in the water, drowned them there, they no longer were in danger ever again with the Egyptian army, correct? Because it was gone, it was dead. They were all in the ground, or all in the water, undrowned. So they were delivered.
You sure?
Yet they had to end up staying 40 years in the wilderness to get the Egypt out of them. It took a few days, a couple of weeks maybe, I'm not going to go into that, for them to get from Egypt to Mount Sinai in complete safety with their God. But it took God 40 years to extract Egypt out of the children. In fact, he didn't do it. He ended up putting most of them to death. Why? Because they were completely ungodly people. It's alright, it's a dog. I'm used to dogs.
I see you.
Did you get the point though? Do you understand what I'm trying to get at? Unless you're completely in God's will and His way, you know, look at Elisha. Elihu actually ran from Jezebel. He called fire down. Did he mean? You see, fear, which is one of the spirits, that's actually a Hittite spirit, shows up, and guess what? It's inside of him. That's one of the reasons why you're supposed to not go lone wolf. You're supposed to meet. Because rubbing back and forth, buffering against each other, you have a different opinion, you have a different opinion, you have a different opinion, we wear each other to a shine. You see what I'm getting at when it comes to that? As long as you can sit down and not argue. That's why I was having so much fun with the Jehovah's Witness guys. Well, there was a Baptist guy, the Baptist, there was 3 standing there when you went by.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I finally got over there, the same 3 were there, but there was only 2 Jehovah's Witnesses. The guy with the t-shirt like thing on was a Baptist, and he was really raising Cain with one of the Jehovah's Witnesses. That's actually ungodly. Okay? That's unchristlike. Here's why. You are to hate the abominable act of homosexuality. I use that because everybody talks about that all the time. Alright, now we got that out there. You're not to hate the person.
Right. The spirit, yeah.
If you hate the person, then you're ungodly. Because that's not love. You're to love that person, not the demonic force inside of it, inside of him or her, that's convinced them that that's the right lifestyle, when the entire Bible says it's not. And all the churches that are, that's why we're in such bad shape. That's why I'm having to, I shouldn't actually have to preach on a lot of stuff that you have to. The reason why churches have to teach all the time on family values, on how to keep marriages together, is because way, way, way back they let all this stuff drop. They should have always been out there hammering away, okay, on the street corners, evangelizing basically people for, you don't do this, it's ungodly. If you do it, it's wrong. We shouldn't be saying it's okay to preach in a pulpit with this stuff. You see what I'm getting at? If you want to do that, you need to start your own church. We put them out of our church. Okay, that's cutting out the eye that offended thee. Okay, it's not ungodly, it's not unprincipled, and it's not out of love. If they were to come back and ask for something, you are to, work with them. That's the whole point. For you to bow up, say, you are evil, and want to do something to them, that's a complete ungodly act. And you need to be put out of the church because you're not godly. Well, who puts anybody out of the church?
Nobody.
Got to have money. Which is ungodly, actually. You see what I'm getting at? And it's a vicious cycle that we have created. And it started out really small. It goes back to, frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn. That was back in the 30s. Yeah, it's still cooking. That was back in the 30s. Why did not all the Christians boycott that and never go to it? Instead, they went to it because they wanted that sin. Now look at what we hear on TV all the time. Far worse than that. I'm just amazed at some of the stuff we've got on TV. And it goes right back to that's where we allow the authority to come into the nation. It works the same thing as here. Oh, I'm catching a cold. So now that particular spirit can run up to God, go, on this date, at this time, she did say she was catching a cold. Let's give her that cold. Now, 2 days after you got your cold, on this date, at this time, she did say it would kill her. It might have been 15 years ago. It might have been 30 years ago. It might have been 70. Depends on how old you are. But guess what? You said it. Just like God spoke it into existence. Just like through Joshua, the universe was spoken into existence. The authority was spoken into existence. And guess what? Now it works. Now you go from cancer to Ebola. Or not cancer, but I mean from cold to Ebola. Is that making any sense at all? It's all about spirits and who wants to learn. It's okay. Some people have different appetites. Some people have spirits that convince them it's not quite right or not quite time or whatever. But I hope this is making some sense. Let's see, because and there's tons of scriptures to back all this stuff up. There's the scriptures in here, and I can't remember exactly where it's at. I'm gonna have to find it. But for some reason I can't remember. Usually I remember it. Where Christ is dealing with a demon, but he's talking about healing. Okay, several places that occurs. What I'm getting at is that's right here somewhere. Yeah. Here we go. We're out of them. Okay. That there's spirit and power, but death is Romans 6:23. Wages. Okay. That's a whole thing on that. Well, I'll run across it eventually in here. But what I'm talking about, there's several things that is completely godly, but we've been taught that they don't. It's not in Scripture. They teach around these scriptures somehow. They don't. They want you to go to James, chapter 5, and just go on from there. That's all they want. And when I looked up a long time ago, a friend of mine had to go to the hospital for surgery, and I looked up. That's the only healing scripture that popped up in any of the little things that you can find. Yet I'm finding all kinds of stuff where he healed people, and that is healing scriptures because it verifies, it testifies to the fact that he went all around everywhere to Israel and taught and healed people, and there's every one of them. Not one of them did he turn anybody down. Okay, but there was actions at every one of them. There's another reason why a lot of people be healed, and it's a real healing, and nothing ever happens. Never did any action. Think about this: the lady that touched the hem of his garment was healed right then. The action came before. She sought him out, and then she touched the hem of his garment, by the way, the tzitzit, and she was healed. Jewish rabbi, unclean woman touches Jewish rabbi. He has the right to pronounce her to be stoned to death at that time. She took her life in her own hands. That's how much she believed in him. Raising the dead, remember when it says he laid his garment on her? Guess what he put in that dead girl's hands? And part of the problem is, another thing is the law is done away with. If the law is done away with, you don't need grace. You see what I'm getting at? Because according to the Bible, he did it for everybody. Okay? And if you believe on him, then you receive it. But he did it for everybody. I've been told that many times. That means grace has been done for everybody. So if grace offsets the law, then you don't need grace. That was done 2,000 years ago. And that's exactly how come the United States of America and the rest of the world is in the condition it is right now. It's because of that teaching. The law's not done away with, and I can physically show you that it isn't. Did you know that? Go to Walmart or your nearest little store, country store, whatever that sells plants in the spring. I want you to go get a gallon jug, fill it full of potting soil, good rich soil, and stick in 3 or 4 seeds, make sure it's watered, cucumbers. I don't care what type of cucumbers. Okay? No. Go lay down.
Who's he talking to?
It's okay. Calm down. I got dogs too. Now, take another pot, about a gallon, fill it full of really good potting soil, and get cantaloupes. Put a couple seeds in there. Keep them watered. Let them sprout up. Don't have more than 3 feet apart. When they grow up, you're going to get, and have them outside. Okay, or if you have a garden like this I have done, because I didn't read the law, I didn't know this was the facts. I put them too close together. You know what happens? They cross-pollinate, and you get a cupilope. A cantaloupe that tastes exactly like a cucumber. It's worthless. It's in the law. You're not supposed to do that. So if the law's done away with and everything was cleaned, especially food items, as everybody likes to teach, that could not happen.
I have to move around. If I don't,
See?
I'm gonna go to sleep.
And one of the reasons everybody's health is poor is because they're violating the health laws. It has nothing to do with your salvation because you don't do anything. God does all the work for your salvation. Salvation is, when it says you're delivered, okay, you're delivered from the wages of sin. What is the wages of sin?
Like the price of it?
Yes, what happens? What's the wages of sin? I have.
Death.
Thank you. Finally. The wages of sin is death. Okay, I didn't ask what sin was, which is, according to the New Testament, violation of the law, or missing the mark, actually. Well, everybody should know that the wages of sin
I
is
was going to
death.
say that.
But the point I'm getting at, though, is that's what you're delivered from. The moment you say, Christ, come into my life, come into my heart, deliver me, He's delivering you from the wages of your sin, which is death. That's it. And the church wants it to be, a lot of people like to call it greasy grace or sloppy agape. Okay? That means now I can do anything I want because I have that. My sin debt has been paid in full.
But you can't.
But that's not what's being taught. That's the problem. A lot of people are teaching that, you know, you can go out and do whatever you want to, and that's just ungodly. Well, if that's the only thing that He paid in full, then that must mean the rest of it's still. The reason why America's shot morally is because it says the law is done away with. All the Christians way back said that, and because of that, they can't see the fact that letting people do stuff without at least saying it's wrong is giving authority to it. In other words, the morality is gone. Look at pornography. We at one time, United States of America, in the late 1800s through the 30s and 40s, was the greatest evangelistic exporter there was. We went to all the nations, all over the world. We sent people to China, back in the 1880s. There's stories I've read about evangelists who walked along the African coasts and stuff, and set up churches and saved who knows how many people. Okay, I told you about that one guy that went to North Korea, 40, 50 years ago, stepped off the boat and chopped his head off right then and there. But yet, 30 years later, the guy took his Bible and had plastered it all around his house, got saved by reading the scriptures that he used to wallpaper his wall. Okay, we don't do that anymore. Okay, instead we export pornography, the opposite of it. Because the Christians in here sit down on their chair and say, I've got grace, I'm good. And now, look at our condition. We are to the point where if the nation itself doesn't repent, 2 years, that's it. There will be no United States of America at all. It will be a base nation. I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's enough people that's starting to come out of Babylon. You know how dangerous Babylon is? guess what? Sunday, if you worship God on Sunday as His holy day, you're in the Babylonian system. Doesn't matter what denomination you're in. Everybody can go to any calendar in their house and go to get one of your regular old calendars, and it will tell you Sunday is the first day of the week. Nowhere in the scriptures does it say that He changed the Sabbath from Saturday or the last day. I don't care that Paul did this, that, and the other thing. You can teach any day of the week. I have no problem with that. You can teach Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. In fact, you should, whenever the opportunity arises. But, guess what? The straight worship part, the synagogue part, or at least getting together like we are today, should not be passed away. And if you say it has, and you do it on Sunday, and you're strict, or stand on that ground, then you're in the Babylonian sun god worship system. Nimrod instituted sun god worship.
What's Nimrod?
Who's Nimrod?
Nimrod?
He's the first emperor of the world. He's the guy that went to the land of Shinar, the plains of Shinar, after the flood, and started building Babel, okay, or Babylon, the city of Babylon, which is in Mesopotamia right now, Iraq. But the point is, he gathered together like-minded people and started a city. He said, let us build a city. Everybody equates it with a tower. The tower comes later. Let's build a city and make a name for ourselves and build a tower. The whole point is, he gathered together people and he started his own religious system. A lot of people believe that first tower was a ziggurat, which has all kinds of different altars on it to all kinds of different gods. Okay, that's not in the Bible, that part, but that's what a lot of people actually believe, and I tend to believe that too. But the point is, though, he didn't just make one city. He made a bunch of cities. He actually built Nineveh. That is in the Bible. Okay. So he went around gathering people together, like-minded people, and started his own religious system, his own governmental system, everything. When God always... See, that's the same thing with the Christians, or the Israelites. After they get into the Promised Land, who's their king? They have no king. God would send prophets when they had problems. Okay, like Gideon. Well, here's the thing. Judges is correct. You get to the end of Judges, you have Samuel. He's an old man. He's got 2 boys, which I can't remember their names right now. He appoints them to be the next set of prophets, because he's, getting ready to die. And they say, we don't want your kids. Your kids are evil. Give us a king like the rest of the nations. That's the people. And Samuel's upset with this. He never actually says that he's mad because they're yelling about his kids being evil. You know why? He knew they were. They were corrupt. But that's what the people deserved. They had corrupted themselves. That's why Samuel was having so much trouble. That God sent 2 prophets down, or turned his boys into unjust prophets. Why? Because that's what the people, the nation of Israel, deserve. Just like right now, people moan and groan about our government this, our government that. That's what you deserved. You laid down on the ball. Your father laid down on the ball, and his father laid down on the ball. And now we are to the point where we have exactly what the nation, spiritually as a whole, deserves. Well, it works the same way with us. Getting us back to us. What spirit you speak into yourself or about yourself is what you deserve. Now, there are generational curses. Don't get me wrong. That's where alcoholism comes in, drug addiction. He was a druggie, he was a druggie, and he was a druggie. And the world will say that's because you observed this, this, and this, going back through the line. but you have to work from the other direction. That's because that spirit manifests itself bigger and bigger and bigger. I have lots of experience in those two. Alcohol and drugs is years of experience in that. Okay, talk to countless thousands of people about all this. Well, what I'm trying to get down to is, now we're getting down to the good stuff. Okay, you can go through all this. There is absolutely no question at all that Christ treats any type of illness as a demonic entity. Okay? Palsies, leprosies, all of it. It's all demonic, one way or the other.
Matt's trying to get my drink. Sorry.
Satan's also in charge of all the flying things.
Really?
Yes. Just to let you know. And that was a distraction. You see how fast it happens and how easy it is. That's what I'm getting at. That's just how quick this stuff happens and how fast it is. It's actually scary. Because that's why we have the full gospel armor. If you're saved and everything's hunky-dory, okay, from the moment you're saved and you've got the Spirit, then why do we need the gospel armor? Go through the notes. You're going to find it. We fight all the time. Fight the good fight. Okay? Right at the end. Paul wouldn't even serve salvation till the very end. Because he was always afraid he would fall away into apostasy. Give in the last second. But he never did. But the point about the whole thing is you have to fight. What are you fighting if everything's perfect? That's what really drives me crazy with all these teachings on all this stuff. You're healed, and he did actually do every bit of it, but you don't receive it because Satan has managed to get into the church and teach everybody, or not everybody, but most everybody that, hey, you're saved, you can't have no demons, and illness is just part of the world. Well, illness comes from Satan. So if you want to say it's part of the world, it's fine, because he's the God of this world. Okay? Although right about real soon that's changing. But the point is, that's how this is working. And we've been convinced that's how that is. So you end up not even know to fight an illness. Most people go to the doctor before they pray about having a cold. And they don't realize when somebody's like, say Joe sneezed right there, and the guy next to him catching a cold, I just cursed him.
Right.
So now, if he agrees with that, that's two in agreement. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Bible talks about two in agreement. And that's two physical people. Don't you think Satan will not jump right in there? You got to remember, God has set forth blessings and cursings. If you do this, he will bless you. In other words, if you pray for the peace of Jerusalem, you will be blessed. It says right in there. There's no discussing this. Satan, on the other hand, will give you more than what you deserve. Every chance he can. He's an overachiever in that. Because it's a sin. And the wages of sin is death. Now you might not have done something to the point that God would say that's worthy of death. But Satan will do everything he can to just pay you all you got coming and more. In other words, if he can kill you because you made one lie 10 years ago and you never repented of it and never took it out of your life, he will use that as much as he can to hammer away at you. That's how he works. It's not a sin to death. It's not worthy of death, but yet he's ready to give it to you. God isn't. The Father isn't, but he is. Now what nobody has on their notes is my last page, because it's all handwritten. So I'll probably end up having to read it straight out. There's a lot of hours in this, by the way, just to help you out. There's one whole section here that this whole last page is really cool. Surely he has taken up our sickness and has carried our sorrows, yet we regard him as stricken, beaten by God and afflicted, but he was pierced, profaned for our transgressions, he was crushed for our perversions. Upon him was the correction that brought our peace, and by his blows we were healed. That's in Isaiah 53. In this famous passage, that foretold the suffering of Yahshua as Mashiach ben Yosef, and translate the word blow is wound. But it has a root. This is a really amazing thing. Its root is the word for friend. Remember, it says that when he comes back, I was wounded in the house of my friends.
You need to practice.
And that's another misnomer too. As he later said regarding his sacrifice, greater love has no one than that he laid down his life for his friends. See, it's amazing how this is all tied together. There is a friend who sticks, and that's devach, closer than a brother. Through everything you walk through, all the stuff that you have done, and everyone sitting here has done stuff that is worthy of death. He has drug us through that and set us up, polished us up, cleaned us off, and dusted us off, and polished us up. And he's continually trying to do that. And Satan, through illness, okay, and demonic forces, anger that's not righteous anger. There is a righteous anger. But all that, doubt, fear, that's all distracting us. And that's all demonic forces. So either one of two things is going on here. So we finally come to either the Bible is not right about with his stripes we are healed, or 1 Peter, by whose stripes you are healed. There's Psalms 103, iniquities who heal all thy diseases. Psalms 107:20, he sent his word and healed them and delivered them from distresses. Either that's not true, and you weren't healed at the very beginning, and that's why you keep getting ill, or something else is going on here. We're giving authority in our lives to something fallen. He never created anybody to be ill. He used that because it might have passed down. That's how people are born blind. That's a generational curse, because they were born in the womb, out of the womb, blind. Somewhere in the previously line. You gotta understand, there's entire nations that exist today because of a blessing a father gave to a son 4,000 years ago. Do you not think it works in reverse too? Satan will use it and twist everything. So a father, instead of blessing his child, would say something demonic like, "Get out of here, you're," well, I don't have a child here, so "you're worthless. You'll never amount to anything." That's a curse. Let it ride through 7 or 8 generations. Bye. It's the same as a blessing. It works in reverse. And until that person realizes that and goes, "I need to be saved from this. Heal me of this curse." You notice that even the guy who had the withered hand, and he reached out and said, "Be healed." There was a whole thing. He had to forgive him of sins first. Because he turned around and told the Pharisees, because the Pharisees like, "Hey, he's blaspheming. He's telling that guy his sins are forgiven." Well, only God can forgive sins. One, they're not doing it, I believe, on the Sabbath day, if I remember the right one I'm on. Long story short, he looked at him, because of course he knows what they're thinking, and says, "Which is easier, to say your sins are forgiven?" I can tell you your sins are forgiven, Joe. Is there anything we can see to tell this? But you're sitting there like this. Okay? It's absolutely ungodly. God will not give the power to heal somebody to somebody who's on the wrong side. When, in the end here, when this thing start appearing like they're healing people and whatever, that's a trick. That's a lie. That's a deception. It's not true healing. True healing comes from God. So when he said, stretch forth thy hand, the guy's hand's like this. Stretch forth thy hand. You see I'm not moving? There was an action there. He had to stretch forth it. It's not like salvation, which he did all the work. We have to accept. We have to show faith. We have to physically do something. That's why you hear all these healers. You know, like say your arm's broken or whatever. And he's like, be healed. You know, praise, da-da-da-da. And they say, stand up, or jump up and down, or can you see? You know, they're wanting confirmation. The people who do not accept it, you have to physically accept it, even if it's just with words. But you have to do that. There's no ifs and there's an action involved. Does that make any sense? And if you read Matthew chapter 9, this is how others affect forgiveness. Okay? And getting healing. And what I'm talking about is, I'm trying to pray for you to get you healed for whatever it is. That one and that one. What are you, crazy? That's doubt and unbelief. That's why, like when it talks about he went home and he did few works. Why? Because he didn't believe. But yet, I can't remember which verse it is. It's in here somewhere. But he goes to a city, and they actually begged him to stay because he healed all that they brought to him. In other words, if you go to him, and it doesn't have to be you. You notice that fathers were bringing children. I'm not worthy but my child. I'm not worthy but my servant. Wasn't even there. Same thing with Paul. By the way, that word that was given, I've got it in here, but when Paul is given special power, and then it talks about anointing on his apron, handkerchiefs and aprons, that's the same word. I think it's 1140. It's dudamus. It's the same word that God, okay, the Father gives Christ. Okay, gives him power. Anoints him and gives him power. That's the same word. It's not. It's just translated. It could have been power. It should have been translated power, so not to confuse people. Okay, there's. People's got to understand. One of the things that a lot of people need to understand is one word can be translated out of the Greek 5 or 6 different words in the English. In fact, there's one, and I should look it up. I think it's got it right here.
Is it good?
Yeah, right here. John 14, verses 12 through 14. When you get to the last section of last part of verse 14,
You don't know what you're doing.
will do even greater things than thee, even if it. In fact, I want to look that up.
I think she said it was $25 a month. That's not bad. Like, you can go like get 5 days a
Oh, look
week,
at it. It's John.
And do what?
like tone exercise.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Because I believe that curves is like $45.
Yeah, something like that. It's expensive. I was in one that was it was just a fitness club, and it was $30 a month.
That's not bad. Is it? You know that person I'm talking about that just opened that?
There it is. Check this verse out. This is John, chapter 14, verse 14. If ye ask anything in my name, I will do it. That's not how that verse should actually be translated. If you look at it in the Greek and tear it back to its structure, it should be a better translation, and a lot of good Bible scholars agree with this. If ye ask anything in my name, even if it doesn't exist, I will create it. That's how much power is in this. Even if it doesn't exist, I will create it. But yet we have doubt that he can heal us. Oh, you see what I'm getting at? It's and James, the classical in James is 14. James chapter 14, 15. Chapter 14, verse says 14. There ain't no 14 in James. James only has 5 chapters. James chapter 5, verses 14 and 15. I'll slow down here long enough. That's where it gets to anointing.
That's good.
Okay. And it tells you to anoint with oil.
I gotta lose it.
That's olive oil.
He was like, what are you doing?
It's not the purest form of olive oil. It's the second form. Remember I told you about this. The Garden of Gethsemane. What's that mean? The Garden of Gethsemane, where he prayed right before they came and took. He was in the Garden of Gethsemane when they came and took him.
I am. I'm trying to see if you get it. I know what this one is.
What is it?
I ain't saying you got to say it.
It's the olive press. That's what that actually means.
What's that mean though? I mean,
It's
It's
an
where
olive
they
press. That's where you press
the
olives.
oil out of the olives.
That's,
How do you
That's
get olive
the other
oil?
that's how you get olive.
can.
You get down to the bottom, but where does the oil come from? They press the olive. Have you ever seen olives?
Yeah, I love them.
Okay, so you got olives. Now, have you ever seen olive oil?
Yeah.
You have to press the olives
To
get
get the
olive
I
oil.
got some in here.
The point is, that's what you use for anointing oil, but there's 3 different types of pressing. Well, not 3 different types, there's 3 pressings.
And we learned in school that that's the best for your health too. Is the
But
olive
which
oil.
one?
Weaning.
The very first pressing, which is the lightest pressing, okay, the first time he goes and prays, is used in the temple. That's what you would mix with the incense and stuff and put in the menorah. Okay.
What's a
Or-
manure?
Menorah?
Yeah.
Candle.
Yeah, I have my
It says 7.
hour-long teaching with that. I'll
7.
leave it with you. Okay. It's a 7-branch, not candle, but lampstand. And it represents the 7 branches of the spirits of God, as in Isaiah. I can't remember what chapter right off hand, but it's in Isaiah. But anyway, I got a whole teaching on that. I'll get it on my thing. I'll leave that with you. The point, though, is that I got to get my talit in the right spot here. It's getting to be unruly here on me.
It's a pretty one.
Just this is a standard one. Just a standard messianic
Still
one.
pretty.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
The first pressing is the purest oil. It's the lightest pressing on. What it is think about, ever seen nutcrackers for walnuts?
Mhm.
Make it really big, as wide as this room is. Okay, and there's a weight out here. And the press is about where Joe's at, and the hinge is back in here. Well, you put all the olives in a onion-like bag. It's really fine mesh we call cheesecloths. Put it down in the basket. The first one, that's the one that you use. I hope I'm getting this in the right order, and I know I am. In the temple. However, you don't get everything out of there. You let it kind of relax, and then you put weights on. Crunch. Now you get another pressing, another batch of oil. That's the second time he went and prayed. Think about Christ praying in Gethsemane. Now he went and prayed the second time. That's the one that you use for healing. That's the one you use for anointing oil. And then the third one, which is all the way, just crush it into non-pulverize it, which is when it says he prayed to liken crying blood. That's how much he was being pressed. Okay. Guess what? That's the one you use for cooking. So when you say it's good for you, which one? The third pressing is the one you would use for cooking. We in the Christian world haven't got a clue. I don't.
So what happens if you cook with one that's been anointed?
You don't want to.
I know, but what happens if you
If you don't know that you did, that's a sin that you don't know. Okay, that's the unknown sin.
But if you know that it is.
Then you have a problem because you're actually kind of smacking him in the mouth.
Yeah.
You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
It's like if you know not to do something,
Uh-huh.
that there is the willful sin. Okay, there's the sin of, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to eat this. Okay, if you're eating pork,
I don't eat pork.
I know you don't, but
It's rebellious.
yeah, see, if you're eating pork but you don't know, you've never been told, you've never been shown all the scriptures, okay, that's one thing. The results of that is still the same. Pork is a carcinogenic according to quite a few medical studies.
I'd probably eat it if I could, though. It smells really good.
You can get lots of alternatives.
I'm
There's
just saying.
plenty of alternatives.
Bacon smells lovely.
It's a poison.
Is it
It
good?
really is a poison.
I don't know. I ain't had none in I don't know how long.
Y'all put eating pork?
Oh, we ain't eat pork in years. What, are you crazy?
Oh, I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that. I thought you ate pork.
No, Jewish people do not eat pork.
Turkey bacon, beef sausage.
Oh, I didn't know that. Cool. But you've had bacon before.
Yeah,
So you
like-
know how it tastes.
A long time ago. You know where the tradition comes from eating pork? You notice, for one thing, if you go look at all the satanic places, I'll get it right, religions, pork is central. They eat it on all their festivals or holidays. Okay? And it comes back from the very first, remember, I told you that Nimrod was the first god, or first emperor? He had a wife. And she had a son. Well, he died. She had a son too late. In other words, he was dead too long to be it. And
What do you want? What? Okay.
she ended up dying. And, or not, no, start over. Okay, he starts his own religious system, marries a woman. Okay. And the reason I'm not using his name is because I can't remember him exactly right at the moment. She ends up being called Ishtar. But the story goes like this. He dies. He ascends into heaven and becomes the sun god. More than 9 months later, we don't know how much, but we know it was farther than it should have been, she gets pregnant and gives a child, which means she's been a harlot to him. Well, she answered this whole thing by saying that she was impregnated by the rays of the sun god. Therefore, the child is half man, half god, half deity. Well, the child at age, I think it was age 40. Yeah, age 40 dies.
That's
Is that
looking
pretty?
good.
Yeah, it is. It does good work. At age 40, he dies. His name was Tammuz. And he was gored by a boar. And that's where most pagan religions get the pig part, or the pork part. And the reason they do that is because by eating the pig, you're actually showing your reverence because you show that you killed the item. They killed your God, the son of your God.
This right here is still not the.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
still not the kind though, because hers had the kind they showed us at school the other day was extra
Extra
virgin.
virgin olive oil. It's the same thing.
Well, there's virgin, extra
This is
virgin,
pure.
and pure. Okay, and you actually have to look it up because I can't remember the order. It's not what you think it is.
What do you mean? But
Well,
they said the extra virgin olive oil is the best for you, like if you're gonna fry eggs and stuff. It's best for your body.
it might be the other way around. I can't remember. See, I'd have to look it up online
But
again.
what's the difference? I mean,
It's the pressings. It literally is the pressings. You would think pure would be first, and I'm
because the
thinking.
extra olive oil isn't this dark either.
I'm thinking. I can't remember though. See, I'm thinking extra virgin is the first pressing, virgin is second, and pure is the third.
Okay.
Know this: there's nothing magical or mysterious about
And this
this.
is still fattening though. Did y'all see the back of that?
Yeah, but it's good fats. My point though is
Yeah, they said that's
you're trying to follow the law, and that's
you're
where.
supposed to still get
And
some
spiritually, if
fat.
you're trying to follow the law, he stamps it as good, even when you kind of screw up a little bit, because you're at least seeking Him through His Word. You see. So if you ask this oil to be turned into anointing oil,
Have you already done it up to this? Okay.
You don't do it to the whole bottle.
Well, I didn't know.
unless you plan to use a lot of it.
I'm Methodist,
Oh, I
man.
did. I
We-
did one.
we don't do that.
I know, but what I'm saying now
I
is
did another
you can
bottle.
do a whole bottom, you can do a whole bottom.
They do anoint people though in the Methodist church.
Yeah.
I don't remember, a lot about it. But I did see some anointing oil once.
Right, and the thing is, that goes back to James 5:14-15.
Would you like to buy it?
Pure.
How much money you have?
So if it's pure,
I don't remember the order. I'm thinking that's the order. I haven't looked it up in so long because I do anoint a large quantity and just keep refilling my little vial I carry around with me.
Well, now usually I get the 100% virgin. This just
That's
says
the
pure.
that's the good kind. That's good for your heart.
I'm thinking it's the first pressing, and then virgin is the second pressing, and then pure is cooking
So
oil.
what they would do is they would literally take this and they would mix like the spices and stuff in it. And
Yeah,
use
okay.
this for the oil.
All right,
for
let's
the
say
lamps.
this is the first pressing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good question because Hanukkah's coming up, and that's all about this.
What is
actually.
that?
That is the
It's like Christmas, ain't it? Ooh,
It's-
did I just say that out loud?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Okay.
I'll let that slide. No, Christmas is never mind. I don't
Okay.
even want to get into that.
I'm just saying Hanukkah's.
I mean,
like-
you all still have your kids, so you haven't burned them yet. That's what Christmas is all about.
Hanukkah is something to do with Christmas, though, right?
Right here.
Don't you like burn
It
candles?
literally
and
is.
stuff?
It's reminiscent of this right here. This will burn. If I put it in an oil lamp, it will burn. Now here's what they did a long time ago. Actually, in the Bible, it gives you an entire recipe, and I'm not familiar with it because I'm not a temple priest. Okay, so I haven't really studied out all the ingredients that went into this. But it's holy oil, and it takes a week to make it. So once you start, you're not going to be able to, I can't mix it with all the incense, frankincense, myrrh, whatever, and then use it tonight. This being the Sabbath, I'll have to wait till the next Sabbath before I could use it. And I shouldn't do it on the Sabbath anyway. Or on work time, okay? But here's what happened. The Maccabees actually defeated the Assyrians, enough that they regained control of the temple. Okay, remember, this is before Christ shows up, but it's after they've been kicked out. They've already had a god, an idol put in there. Okay, it's really the abomination that causes desolation. The first showing of it. They put forgot the guy's name right offhand, but he put a statue of Zeus on there, sacrificed a pig on the altar. Yeah, and desecrated the altar. Well, long story short, they were going around to all the villages, and they come to the village where the Maccabees were. I can't think of the hammer's name now, his first name. I know there's going to be Jewish people watch this. This goes crazy. But Judas Maccabee. Okay. I'm going to make this short. When the captain of the guards walked up and said, hey, look, you need to sacrifice this pig or we're going to wipe out your village. Sacrifice it to whatever pagan god. And he's like, I don't think so. Well, one of the village idiots ran out. I'm going to call him a village idiot because he was ready to say, oh, don't worry about him. I'll do it for this village. Judas Maccabee took the weapon from the captain and killed him. Killed the guy that said that, and his boys jumped in and they killed the entire company that was there. And that began the Maccabean revolt. And this is also that Christ can have a temple to actually go to when he comes. Okay? That's controlled by the Jewish people. I mean, it was under the Romans when he showed up, but they were running sacrifices just like they're supposed to although corrupt when he showed up. Well, now, Judas Maccabee, and there's a whole war goes on. I mean, Judas, I think, is killed under a war elephant. I mean, this is not a legion show up. It's armies in the end. One of the things he did first was he insisted on doing Bible things Bible ways. Period. And one of them circumcising male children on the 8th day. He would go around and do that. But the reason why the Jews were always getting their butt kicked is this is the Sabbath. If we were attacked, we would sit the women in the back corner and you're younger than me. You go out there first. You stand there and let them kill you. And then I'd stand there next. Let them kill me. In other words, we wouldn't fight because it's Sabbath. Can't do any work. Judas Maccabee got a little hostile about that and said, oh yes, we are going to fight on the Sabbath. You will pick up a weapon and fight. So now they fight all 7 days. So because the enemy would just simply wait till the Sabbath, go find them and kill them. I mean, that was an easy solution. You didn't have to worry about losing any troops or nothing. Well, he changed that. They fought every day of the week, so it didn't matter anymore. Well, anyway, it turned into a big war. They ended up suing for peace, and they got control of the temple. Well, they run up there finally, and they start the temple sacrifices and everything. Well, one of the things that's in the law says that when you put the oil on, once the lamp's lit, it stays lit perpetual, forever. Can't let it go out. Well, the little crucibles that the oil was in, which was stashed around the temple, the invading forces had found and used them or broke them or whatever, all of them but one. Well, what do? We're sitting there, we've already started a temple sacrifice and trying to do the law. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into the Talmud enough to know if they actually knew what they were doing when they put the oil in and lit it. If they didn't have enough, or they said, "We'll trust in God to begin with," and put it in and lit it. I'm not sure. Either way, they put the oil in the menorah, the holy lampstand, and lit it. Yet they did not have any more, which means it was going to go out the next day. But the law says you're to never let it go out. It's a perpetual. Guess what? It didn't go out. But not because something man did, because something God did. He kept his menorah lit. And that all goes back to the Spirit. That's the problem with a lot of people in the law, actually. They want to keep the law because of the law. But you're supposed to keep the spirit of the law. That's the difference. In the Old Testament, the Spirit wasn't in you, it was on you. It was this. The New Testament, it's in your heart. When you're breaking the law, He tells you inside. He doesn't need the hard paperwork that tells you. Well, if I read it right, you will know before you get to that point. You see what I'm getting at? But anyway, that's where that whole thing comes from. Hanukkah. We light a light for each night. 1, 2, 3. And that's why it has...
12 of them, right?
No.
11?
No.
7?
Nope.
No.
How many? 9?
Why would it be 9?
Is it 9 for real?
Why would it be 9 though? Because it lasted
9
for
weeks
7
of it?
days.
Oh, it's just for 7
But
days?
it was lit for 8.
What? I know.
He had to keep it going. You see, they lit it, burned the one on the one day, and started making the oil for the week. So now you got 7 more days.
So why does the Methodists do it? They light a candle too also. Did you know that?
I have no idea.
Yeah. They light, no, there's 5 of them. You light 4. It's called an Advent wreath. Is what it's called. And you light 4, and then on that special day you light the one in the middle.
Where's that at though? I mean, what part of the year?
December. For real, it's called an Advent wreath.
Okay, this doesn't necessarily have to be in December.
Yeah, but it is.
Not always.
And then I was gonna tell you, I have a friend that goes to school. She's Jewish.
Uh-huh.
They celebrate Christmas. So is she gonna like be condemned for it, or?
I'm not a judge.
I know, but is it like all Jewish is like against Christmas, or is
Let me
it?
explain this. It's not all Jewish. God's against Christmas.
Then why do we have?
Christmas, because you're in the pagan, you're in the Babylonian sun god worship system.
But does it mean that if I get a Christmas tree, I'm gonna go to hell?
I don't know. You'll have to take it up with the Father. The Christmas tree is the evergreen tree. It represents not dying. It's your attempt through other than God.
Because I don't believe in the
To-
whole Santa Claus stuff, but I do believe in Christmas. I mean, I like the trees and
You
stuff.
can't have one without the other.
Why?
You either, it works like this. You're either on God's side or you're not. There is no in-between grounds, people.
I just don't think he's gonna be mad at me because I buy a Christmas tree, though.
Yep.
I mean,
I'd
I'd say him
I
be mad at me for
that
telling
I
my
can
kids they really are Santa Claus, and I know
Nope.
they're not. You know what I mean?
He will be mad at you for buying a Christmas tree. That I do know.
Why?
Because he said, this is how you are to worship me. He gives you 7 different times throughout the year. 2 of them are a week long. More than a week long. You don't show up for them, but you will show up for a date that venerates the sun god, which is Ra. And do you know that the children, the reason who Santa Claus, the big fat guy, represents, he used to look like this. You would put your child in his arms, and then you would set that statue on fire, and it would slowly get hotter and hotter and hotter. And when your kids started screaming, the priest would start playing drums so that you wouldn't have to hear your child as it died. But you would take, and you got the one thing backwards. The kid doesn't come up with the list. You do. The list is pinned to that child before you put him on there, or him or her on there. And did you anything? Oh yeah, you cannot take anything. That's way back in Deuteronomy. You cannot take anything of the pagans and say it's mine. Period. That's an abomination. Yeah. Wouldn't you rather have an entire week at the beginning of the year and an entire week at the end of the year, and you got Hanukkah, which is 9 days or 8 days long?
You get presents too, don't you?
If you want to, I'll try not to do too many.
You
I mean,
can.
there's a lot of days.
You can though.
Well,
All
yeah.
9 days,
Traditionally,
or whatever.
Yeah, 8 days. Traditionally, you do.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should do a Hanukkah. I like gifts.
And you can do the lights. That's the whole thing. It's called the
I'm
Festival of Lights.
I'm gonna have a tree. Yes, I know. I'm trying.
I'm telling you right now, you
I'm-
do what you want
I'm
to.
47 years old, and I've had a tree ever since I was like born.
Take it up with him.
I like the lights. I like the smell of the Christmas tree. It don't mean like I'm celebrating Christmas. I mean,
Then why are you putting it up?
because I like the smell of them. I love them.
Why don't you have one up now?
I would if Joe would let me. If he tell me right now I can have one, I'd go out there and cut one of his down. Because I almost did that. What? What are you trying to say? What? I'm serious with you. I mean, I just like the
I know
smell
you're serious.
of it.
That's the problem. You gotta understand. All right, we're gonna step into the next realm. Oh,
How
my
about
God.
checking on the steak?
Yeah, I'm getting hungry.
All right, this won't take but 5 seconds, 5
Okay.
minutes, not 5 seconds. We have stepped into the Shemitah. The Shemitah is this year. Okay, it started at Tishri 1. There's two calendars God uses. Okay, one starts at the beginning of the year, which is a biblical one. That's Passover. That's Christ's death, burial, and resurrection. The middle of it.
That's Easter, right? Ooh, did I just say that out loud?
Yeah.
Here, I'll help you. That pagan bitch will rot in hell and burn.
I'm just saying, is Passover like right around Easter time?
Now that is a correct statement.
Yeah, that is true. But
They
not
But
the
see-
same
They didn't
thing.
think I knew anything, maybe.
Here's the thing, you don't realize the difference between Passover and Easter. Most Christians think Easter is venerating the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, when it's not. It's venerating the death, resurrection of Ishtar, the bare-breasted goddess of fertility. And there was two ways, and in fact there's more than one reference to her. Do you know where there's a law in there that says, do not boil the kid in its mother's milk or seed the kid in its mother's milk? You've ever heard that? Well, I can't remember exactly what verse back in there in Leviticus it is, but
It's in Leviticus 11, but I can't tell you the verse.
Leviticus 11.
Like a necklace.
But the reason why
I saw
he
something
actually
I
put
saw
that
it.
specific verse in there, that specific law, is because one of the ways you venerate
See,
Easter is you
Mhm.
take eggs, dip them in the blood of the children that have been sacrificed,
What size is it?
and put them inside of a
That was
pig,
10.
and sew it up, or a calf,
Yeah, those fingers.
sew it up, and boil it in its mother's milk.
My wedding rings are 7.
It's horrific. That whole thing is horrific.
I like those.
And they still do that today in some places.
I can wear a 9, but
I was gonna say, I bet you could.
Now back to the tree. I'm going to show you how serious this tree is. The Shemitah starts on the fall festivals. Okay? Now, if you understand the harbingers that's going on to America, the first one is when 9/11 occurred, when the towers literally disappeared, guess what? There was a sycamore tree, Isaiah 9:10, that was destroyed. This is the Isaiah 9:10. You go read all of Isaiah chapter 9. Just run through that. Because after you get to a certain point, you're going to see the word cedar tree. Cedars are a mark of judgment when they die. And God killed ours this year on a blood moon.
it's really not called a cedar tree in the harbor.
It's an Erez tree. But that's the Hebrew term. It's the same thing. It's a pine evergreen tree.
I know a lot about blood moon. I read like 3 books on it.
Alright.
That's
If you've
not-
read on that, when did it occur? It occurred on Passover at the beginning of this year, 2014. That's the day that they cut down the tree of freedom.
And we just had one, too.
Yes.
I'm
That's
glad-
that's a whole nother thing. But
Yeah,
I'm
we
talking
didn't-
about
we didn't
the
get to
Erez
see it.
tree was cut down. The tree that God, or not God, but President Obama basically said put up in place of the cedar tree. Because the nation's in complete and total rebellion against God. Basically trying to get God out of everything.
Is he Muslim?
Mhm. Or
Yes.
something, yeah.
He's more-
And he ain't.
He's working for the wrong side.
Well, I
Yeah.
know that.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay. But he ends up, through a whole series of events, ends up putting a cedar tree or an Erez tree in its place. Exact same place at Ground Zero, right in front of Federal Hall. Okay, where this nation was dedicated. On Passover this year, they looked up and there wasn't a branch left alive on it. The tree was dead. God killed that tree. Despite every horticulturist on the planet trying to keep that tree alive for the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years, it's dead. It's done. It's gone. Take a chainsaw, they cut it down, and that evening they wiped it out to a shredder. And that's the night of the blood moon. It's also Passover. So you go ahead and put your tree up.
I didn't say I was going to celebrate Christmas. I'm just going to
It
say.
don't matter.
Okay. Alright.
How many people in the United States even knows that tree existed to start with? Or what it actually represents? Or what happened to it? Not 1 in 100. Probably not 1 in 1,000. Didn't matter though, he did it anyway. That's the point. He knows. That's what people don't get. You can't put God inside of a box and say, I want to do it this way. He's done gave you how to do it. Now you've got the option of either doing it his way or Satan's way. There's no other option. His way or Satan's way.
Yeah, but are there something in the Bible that says don't put a Christmas tree up? For real?
Yes, it's in Deuteronomy, where it talks about you do not use any pagan, you don't pull in any pagan,
Pagan is more like Halloween and stuff,
no.
right?
Anything that's not godly is pagan. It's heathen. Anything that's not godly.
So
It
do
go-
you all
it goes-
celebrate Halloween?
All Hallows Eve, I know all about All Hallows Eve. It's the worst, most evil day there is.
So you won't be giving out candy, right?
No,
Just asking.
if I did anything, I'd put a garden hose in front of the door, and every time they run up, I'd hose them down.
Are you really serious?
Yes, I would.
Why?
Why not?
I kind of get everything but the Christmas thing, I guess, because I don't do Halloween either. Never have.
And you know, let me explain to you how serious that is. Halloween has now exceeded Christmas and Thanksgiving in its popularity.
I don't know how, but I mean,
Because we're in a fallen nation that's gotten rid of God. If you get, it's either God or something else. If it's not God, it must be satanic. And that's what is actually manifesting.
because I don't understand the whole dressing up thing. You know what I mean? I mean, my school's doing it. They voted to see if we could dress up that day, the day before Halloween.
That-
And
I'm
like,
not going to get into that
I
part.
didn't
What
know
I'm
that.
trying to get
I don't
into is
understand it.
it's either God or something else. And the something
I
else is
understand
always
that,
Satan.
But I just don't think I'm gonna go to hell because I don't have a Christmas
I
tree.
didn't say you would. But let me ask you this. How many apostles were with Christ when the Mount of Transfiguration happened?
6. Are there 6 apostles?
12.
12.
12.
Wait.
No. No.
Was there more than that? Wasn't there 70, 2 by 2? That's 35 pairs.
There was 12 main apostles.
Okay, we'll go 12 main apostles. How many were on the Mount of Transfiguration?
There's only 2 up there with Jesus.
Okay, so that's 3 in the light, we'll call it. How many saw it?
Witnesses. I think it was just the 12, wasn't it? Or 11. 2?
He only took 2 with him.
It was John and Peter, wasn't it?
I can't remember for some reason.
Yeah, I think it was John and
It
Peter.
might have been, yeah. But the point is, he only took 2. Why did he only take 2?
2 witnesses. Well, he said that all it takes is 2 witnesses and they're all
That's
made.
true, but that's not what I'm getting at. Why didn't it show everybody that?
Where?
I could see not doing Judas because he knew Judas would end up betraying him.
Mm-hmm.
But why would this be too?
The point is, though, just because you think you're or you have salvation, the 12 did. I'm pretty sure they all made it or will make it. Only 2 of them were called. Some of the stuff that determines who's called.
Just mean you're called if you were chosen.
What determines that, though? Your ability to follow instructions. There's going to be a lot of people disappointed on the day the rapture occurs. I don't like to use that word, but we're going to go ahead and use it here because we're still on YouTube.
I'm just saying.
There's going to be a lot of people disappointed because they don't go. Yeah, not every Christian just goes bang. Look at Isaac. When Abraham sent, and everybody likes to say it was Eleazar, it wasn't. It just says servant, to go get a bride, which is a forerunner. You got to remember, everybody agrees that Abraham is like God, is a kind of a foreshadow, and Isaac going to the altar and everything was his son. With me so far? Keep reading, because the next thing he starts talking about is a bride for Isaac. And it goes completely against the Jewish wedding. He goes to his people, his family, not Satan, not the fallen, not the heathen, not the unbelievers, believers. And out of the believers, he walks up, picks a girl because she actually does what she's supposed to do. Okay, she come to the well, she watered the camels and stuff, completely unrequired. She went above and beyond. In the Spirit. She was told in the Spirit, she listened to her Spirit, she did it. Okay? And guess what? He's like, here's your payment, gave her a bunch of gold, let's go back to your father, goes back to your father, and basically, are you going to go or not? Yes, I'll go. That day she left. Rapture. out of the family. Ah, left the family behind. I really don't have time to develop all that, but yeah. And it goes back to the fact that it doesn't go back to food. It goes back to the fact that there is something about works. Salvation is given of God, but you're supposed to manifest the fruits of salvation, your works. It might just be being a good housewife, or a good father, or a good mother. It's not necessarily being out being a preacher or an evangelist or whatever, but it's being a godly person. And going around doing pagan things, saying I'm godly, whether it's for the right reason or the wrong reason, doesn't matter. It's still pagan things, and you're supposed to be godly. So I'm going to conclude with this part right here.
Okay.
We've determined for a fact that one, when it comes to illnesses, they're the same thing basically as demons. Because there's several verses in here that he treats them both exactly the same. Two, by his stripes you were healed. That's just an absolute. And there's a whole slew of them I got in there. It's I don't know, all of them right offhand. But that means the moment you got salvation, he offered you everything. The problem is you're like the children who just walked out of Egypt. It took 40 years to get Egypt out of them. It took 40 years to get Egypt out of Moses. It took 40 years to grow him up and teach him what he needed to know. Then had to stick him on the other side of the wilderness for 40 years before he could come back and be the lawgiver. Same thing with the children. It took them 40 years too. Yeah. You see what I'm getting at? He was ready. 11 days. It was 11 days journey to the promised land. When he said, let's go. And they show up. And they do the evil. Send the spies out. Come back with the evil report. 11 days. And they spent 40 years in the wilderness because of their unbelief. They had Egypt in them. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people aren't delivered. The problem is if the pastors would be teaching the right thing about the fact that you have been healed and how to heal people, which is simply you're to command it out. Did Christ ever think about it? Maybe, oh please, out, every demon, out, 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 out. He commanded, bind it out, bind out, bind out. Same thing with all sickness, all of it. Bind it, cast it out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But we've been taught to go to the doctor and go to do this and go to do that. And because of that, we are in a state of, I wonder, a state of unbelief, not of faith. Because it's all throughout there. It's all throughout the entire Bible. So all illness is satanic. It comes from different ways. Some of them are simple. We speak it into existence, just like God spoke the universe into existence. Power in the Word, people. There's real power in the Word. But there's also the generational curse. That's the people, like I said, that were born blind. Somewhere behind them in that line. And it's the reverse of, being blessed. It was being cursed by your father. You worthless piece of garbage. You're never going to amount to anything. Well, that's cursing the child. And that's what the results are. So what do you do about it? The same thing you would do with a demon. You bind it and cast it out. But that person has to do something. If they're paraplegic, tell them to try to get up at least. I can't try to get out of the chair, but I can get out of the chair. But if I don't do anything, I'm not even trying. I'm not manifesting anything, any type of physical faith. It's not a work like everybody wants to make it out to be. See, it goes back to what the Christians are teaching. That's wrong. It's not that way. It goes back to what we're doing right there. Illness comes from breaking God's law. That there meat is being washed for a reason. It says, do not eat anything with the blood in it. The life's in the blood. There's a whole bunch of stuff about the blood, the blood, the blood, the blood. Okay? There's a life force. It's a mystery. And I'm not going to get into, but that's why we clean the blood out of the meat before we eat it. If you don't, it says, here's the curse. You'll be cut off from your people.
I know I try to soak it several times, because even if I do it 5 times,
Yep.
I still got blood in the
Yep.
water.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it as much as I can to try to get it all out.
There you go.
For the deer.
Yep. For anything. You should do it for all your meats, even the ones that come from the store. That's why we're doing the beef that way.
Will you even do, can you do hamburger like that?
I have these 2 blue sieves. Yeah, you can do hamburger. It's a little bit harder, but it's possible. Fill it up, stir it up, fill it up, stir it up, fill it up, stir it up. And I do it over a pot. You would be amazed how much is in hamburger. It's scary. It is actually, yeah, it's worse than slabs of meat. Remember, it's just all the old junk stuff that just kind of probably blood and all, shove it over into the grinder. So yeah, it's. I do it with turkey too, because that's our favorite hamburger. Is half beef and half turkey. Same thing with turkey. It's got garbage in it like that too. All meat. That's it. I just, yeah, I got the remote right here. I just wanted to get everybody to understand, and the way you get rid of these things is you bind them, just like you were dealing with that. But the reason why people can't get rid of it is the very next thing they do is an ungodly fruit. Why should he heal you for you to do it again? That's why cancer keeps coming back. It's a spirit. If you're healed by God of it, it will never show up again unless you start doing something ungodly that will produce that thing. But if you go to the doctor and he cuts it out and it comes right back, you can't cut a demon out. You can only heal, or you can only bind and cast it out. So if you don't do that, it keeps on going. So anyway, that's how you get rid of it.